What's poppin'? Welcome back to the Pylon Cam Podcast, episode 7. Welcome back to the Pylon Cam YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. Got a great episode today. We are going to be talking about one new segment because I've been getting a lot of feedback on my Baker Mayfield slander. A lot of people just apparently believe in Baker Mayfield, and I'm going to tell you which quarterbacks I would take over Baker Mayfield that would make the Browns either just as good or better in 2021. That's going to be the first segment we're going to talk to. Then we're going to talk about what is slowly becoming my new favorite segment for these episodes is the most telling matchups for the week, which is if you're new to the podcast, if you're new to the channel, we talk about two games from the week, whatever week we're on, in this case week 3, and break down the actual impact of those games that correlate to the team's season. And then after that, we're going to look at an updated, now that the first month is over, we're going to give an updated playoff picture. So before we get started, if you got Crocs on like I do, slap those bad boys into sports mode, and let's get into it. So the first thing we are going to talk about, to Mayfield or to Mayfold. I think that we can look at a bunch of quarterbacks and think to ourselves, am I taking Baker Mayfield or Mayfold is going to show up, and I'd rather have this guy. And I don't know why that isn't a trending nickname for Baker Mayfield. So if you really agree with that, go ahead and let's get that started. We're going to start calling Baker Mayfield Baker Mayfold every time he chokes, which is any game he has to perform in the fourth quarter. So it happens pretty freaking often. But anyways, let's get to it. First quarterback on this list. Will I take Baker Mayfield? Do I think that Baker Mayfield has a better chance to take the Browns to the Super Bowl or pass the AFC wildcard game because Baker Mayfield was halted in his tracks at the divisional round last year? So, first quarterback, do I take Baker Mayfield or do I take Russell Wilson? I am taking Russell Wilson 10 out of 10 times. Russell Wilson constantly takes his team to the playoffs every year despite what weaknesses they have. I think the Browns have the best roster in football. Russell Wilson, wouldn't have to pick up nearly as much slack, and he will take this team to the Super Bowl. Next on this list, Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray. I don't know what's going on with that picture of Kyler Murray, but I'm taking Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray does more in a team where he has a great offensive line and probably the best run-blocking offensive line in the game right now. Opens up for way more design runs with Murray. Murray is one of the best deep ball passers in the league. And you give him Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, the whole nine. I'm taking Kyler Murray over Baker Mayfield every day. Baker Mayfield or Matthew Stafford. Now, I thought this when the news came out that Matt Stafford wanted to get traded, I thought the Browns were going to be very aggressive. And I have said that I think Matthew Stafford makes the Browns, that is, AFC favorites over the Chiefs, over the Ravens. I think that Matthew Stafford, we're seeing what he's doing with the Rams and Cooper Kupp. You give him a player like Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb. I think sky's the limit for this team. The Rams O-line is on par with the Browns, so there would be literally no change there. The Browns defense is actually playing way worse than I thought they would, but their defensive front is insane. I'm taking Matthew Stafford every time over Baker Mayfield. Next player on this list. This is the first interesting one, Daniel Jones. So here's what I'll say, and then I guess as I'm talking, I'll make my decision because I really don't have a decision. I think that if you put Baker Mayfield on the Giants, as bad as the Giants are, I think they're way worse. Anytime Baker Mayfield has to move out of the pocket, make a throw on the run, make a deep ball pass, he throws an interception or they suck. So Daniel Jones, physically, if we're just looking at physical quarterbacks, Daniel Jones is bigger, stronger, faster, bigger arm, maybe just as accurate, maybe a little less accurate. I think that offense is tailor-made for Baker Mayfield to be accurate. It's roulette, play, action, pass for Baker Mayfield every time. I think Daniel Jones has higher upside than Baker Mayfield does in almost every capacity. He's 6'5", 220. He looks like he has incredible speed. He's out there running 50-yard touchdowns, 80 yards if he doesn't trip. And what does Baker Mayfield do? Physically better than Daniel Jones. I don't think he throws the ball farther. He might be a little bit more accurate, but let's see Daniel Jones in that offense. I mean, he's playing perfect right now. He's the 8th-ranked quarterback in the entire NFL. on the Giants. And Baker Mayfield looks like he's struggling to win games on this Browns team. I mean, so higher upside, I go with Daniel Jones. Is he as proven as Baker Mayfield? No. Is Baker Mayfield really that proven? No. I guess I go with Daniel Jones. I know people are going to rip me for that in the comments, but I'd rather have the bigger athlete than someone I have to tailor a team. And not just an offense around, an entire offense. I would rather have the player where I don't have to tailor an entire scheme around them for them to not have a completion percentage under 60%. And I'd rather have the bigger, stronger, faster athlete. That's just me. Next one. Don't know what's going on with that picture either. Baker Mayfield or Trevor Lawrence. Now, if I'm looking at this year, I'd probably take Baker Mayfield, just based off of the stats. If I'm looking beyond this year, and I mean as soon as next year, and if I'm even looking at Trevor Lawrence with the Kevin Stefanski, maybe I take Trevor Lawrence this year. Bigger, stronger, faster athlete, throws the ball farther. I think for this year I'll take Trevor Lawrence. I'd rather have the higher upside guy who has been in big games. And he really, I think a lot of his failure as of right now is because of the coaching staff, not because of who he is as an athlete. So I'm gonna take Trevor over Baker. Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna take Baker Mayfield over Jalen Hurts. Even though Jalen Hurts definitely has higher upside, he's just consistently has a 54% completion percentage. We saw the first game of the season against Atlanta. He had a 72% completion percentage that game, but Jalen, to me, he isn't as accurate. He doesn't have a stronger armor anyway, and he hasn't. A lot of people like to really boost Jalen Hurts' work ethic. I think he's just the most outspoken about his work ethic. It's no shock. You have to work hard to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, or you have to be accurate, or you have to get your team around you. Obviously, that takes hard work. Nobody ever doubts that any of these guys are hard workers. I think, though, Jalen is a great locker room guy, but I also think that Baker Mayfield is a great locker room guy as well. If I had seen a lot of the quarterbacks besides Trevor, we've seen seasons of them. We haven't seen a season of Jalen Hurts, a full season of Jalen Hurts yet, so I can't take Jalen Hurts right now. Maybe at the end of the season it'll be different, but as of right now, September 30th, 2021, I'm taking Baker Mayfield over Jalen Hurts. Next quarterback on this list, man, I don't know what's going on with these pictures. Baker Mayfield or Carson Wentz. So Carson Wentz, bigger, stronger, faster athlete, more mobile. But he doesn't look good, even on the Colts, who have a great coaching staff. Now, what I will say is, if we had done this segment maybe 2 weeks from now, this one might be different because I think the Colts have had probably one of the hardest first 3 weeks in the entire NFL, being that they played Seattle, the Rams, and Tennessee, who was supposed to be a good team coming into the season. So as of right now, I'm probably going to take Baker. If it was a few weeks in and we see what they look like against average teams, because I don't really think the Browns have played anybody special either. They've played the Texans, who they play this week? The Texans. They've played the Chiefs, which they lost to, and then they played the Bears, and the Bears were not good. So I'm going to take Carson just because if I'm looking at it right now. If I'm banking on the upside, I'm taking Baker. If I'm banking on the upside, I take Carson. This one might flip in a few weeks because I think Carson Wentz is a bigger, stronger, faster athlete. Tom Brady or Baker Mayfield? I'm taking Tom Brady. This isn't even a question. Tom Brady turned the Bucs around in a season. The Browns under Kevin Stefanski look like they're a great organization. He has a better offensive line there. Not by much, but it's better. Basically the same weapons, better running game than he has in Tampa, less or weaker throwing weapons because you really just have Odell and Jarvis compared to Godwin, Antonio Brown, Gronk, and Mike Evans. So I'm still taking Tom Brady. He's still going to win wherever he goes. He's the best quarterback ever. Next one, Ryan Tannehill. So I probably take Ryan Tannehill just because bigger, stronger, faster athlete, can do more than Baker Mayfield, and they're in similar offenses where they're just handing the ball to their running backs and getting out of the way, and when they are called to pass on, I think Ryan Tannehill has won bigger games than Baker Mayfield has, and he could do more when he needs to throw, and Baker Mayfield cannot do more than when he needs to throw, so I'm taking Ryan Tannehill over Baker Mayfield, especially if we're putting them in the Browns offense. That's the contingency. We're putting all these quarterbacks in the Browns offense. So I'm taking Ryan Tannehill over Baker Mayfield for certain. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is another player that I probably take over Baker Mayfield because through the first 3 games, Sam Darnold has better stats in almost every single category. And even though the Panthers are 3-0, they're definitely not as good or not a complete team as much as the Browns are. Sam is throwing for more yards, higher completion percentage. I think he has more passing touchdowns too. He has 3 rushing touchdowns. Sam's balling. Baker Mayfield is not. He's just doing what he does every year and just play action, dump off, and then if he needs to take the ball over in the fourth quarter, he's going to throw a pick. So I'm taking Sam. That might be crazy to have Sam Darnold over Baker Mayfield, but taking Sam Darnold over Baker Mayfield every day. Bigger, stronger, faster athlete. Baker Mayfield or Zach Wilson, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. Zach Wilson probably could be better anywhere else in the league if he wasn't on the Jets. However, he is on the Jets, and what we've seen on the Jets is not good. Where Zach Wilson looks impressive is his arm strength was as advertised coming out of the draft. He kind of dances too much around in the pocket, but he does more with his legs than Baker Mayfield ever could. He just needs to kind of get into the groove of what to do with his legs and what to do when he's moving around. I think he tries to do too much, and I think he's definitely trying to compensate for how bad this Jets offense is. But I think Baker's more accurate. I think Baker can manage a game better. And it's kind of unfair to put rookies in this list now that I'm thinking about it, but this is just to kind of put it to rest of who I would take over Baker Mayfield. So as of right now, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. Let's bring this up in a year when Zach Wilson has a year under his belt and the Jets can kind of keep building. Maybe it's Zach Wilson. But right now I'm taking Baker. Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield, it's not even close. I'm taking Josh Allen, bigger, stronger, faster athlete, throws the ball way farther, throws the ball way harder, is more accurate. Taking Josh Allen. Aaron Rodgers or Baker Mayfield, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers. He would take this team to the Super Bowl probably 8 times in a row. He takes the Packers to the Super Bowl or to the NFC Championship almost every year, and they are way worse than the Browns are. They have a way worse defense, way worse O-line, worse running game. I know Aaron Jones is great, so no knock on him, but Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are like thunder and lightning, and they're so effective. I think Aaron Rodgers does way more with way less than Baker does, and Aaron Rodgers is probably one of the best comeback quarterbacks of all time. Baker Mayfield might be one of the worst comeback quarterbacks of all time. He's like with Kirk Cousins. So, taking Aaron Rodgers. Shouldn't even have to explain myself on that one. Derek Carr or Baker Mayfield. Now, this is an interesting one because I do think that when you look at Derek Carr's numbers, even from last year, he's balling with nothing. And I mean nothing by John Gruden's a terrible coach. They had a great O-line last year. Henry Ruggs stunk last year, and it was just him and Darren Waller, really. And this year, the O-line isn't as big of an issue as people thought. They're not running the ball, and Derek Carr is the leading passer in the NFL right now. Higher completion percentage, higher passing yards per game, more touchdowns, bigger moments, has beat the Ravens. I'm taking Derek Carr. Derek Carr, bigger, stronger, faster athlete. And I know I've said that about everybody. But really, unless you're dealing with someone who has an incredible IQ and his IQ outweighs his intangibles, I'm taking the person with the intangibles because you can't convince me Baker Mayfield's IQ outweighs his intangibles because it doesn't. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He's not the fastest guy. I think he's, 5'11"? And he doesn't have the strongest arm, and he struggles in the fourth quarter. And I know a lot of these guys also haven't done anything in the fourth quarter, but they're not like the Browns You are on like one of the best rosters in football. You should be able to do better in the fourth quarter, especially with what's around you. So, I'm taking Derek Carr. Mac Jones. So, I'm going to take Baker Mayfield before someone freaks out. But, you asked me this question in the year, I'm probably taking Mac Jones. Because, Mac Jones physically is basically the same as Baker Mayfield. But Mac Jones' IQ, I would argue, will be higher than Baker Mayfield's. You give him someone like Kevin. I'm factoring the Kevin Stefanski effect in all this. I think Kevin Stefanski has created the Baker Mayfield we see to this day. And I think that when you have someone like Mac Jones, who, he has Belichick whispering in his ear, but he doesn't have anybody to throw the ball deep downfield to. He's a little too conservative for me right now, but I think when he gets a few more seasons under his belt, that's going to loosen up for sure. But for right now, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield is way more adjusted to the game, way more professional in the sense of he knows what to expect at the professional level. He's in year 4 or year 5. And I think Mac just needs time. But if we're looking down the road, I'd probably take Mac Jones because I think Mac Jones will be a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield will be. I think he's more efficient. I think he's less rattled. I think Baker Mayfield just gets way too flustered in the fourth quarter. But for this year, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson. It's like, if anybody out there is saying, I'm taking Baker Mayfield over Lamar Jackson, please go see your doctor because that's crazy. That is crazy talk that you would take Baker Mayfield over Lamar Jackson. If you put Lamar Jackson on that Ravens team, holy crap. They're winning like every game. Ever. Because here's the thing. We're about to see Lamar Jackson with the perimeter weapon in Rashad Bateman, who's about to come back off the injury, his groin injury. We've seen Baker Mayfield with weapons. We've seen Baker Mayfield with running backs and receivers. And the dude couldn't make Odell Beckham work. Odell Beckham, when he got traded to the Browns, was like one of the most electrifying receivers in football, and his career has floundered ever since because Baker Mayfield cannot make it work, quote, with Odell Beckham. That's some crap, dude. That's just bad. Baker Mayfield or Joe Burrow, I'm taking Joe Burrow every day. I think Joe Burrow really is on par with Justin Herbert. I don't think he's as good, but I think he has way less around him because the difference is Joe Burrow coming off the leg injury was because of the lack of protection he had, right? Joe Burrow still doesn't have protection really, and he is dealing this year. Him and Jamar Chase are electric. He has T. Higgins, he has Tyler Boyd. You give this kid protection, you give him more time to throw, holy crap. That's the thing is like a lot of these quarterbacks have the intangibles, and all of them have way less than Baker Mayfield does, and they're still balling out. Sam Darnold, who everybody laughed at on the Jets, is balling out because he has a team around him now. Joe Burrow is going to be really good in like this year and next year. He's only getting better. Him on the Browns, dude, he would be a freak. He also probably wouldn't have the leg injury if he was on the Browns. So I'm taking Joe Burrow every day of the week. Patrick Mahomes, I just put him in here because I felt like I had to. If anybody thinks that they would take Baker Mayfield over Patrick Mahomes, please put in the comments as to why, or tweet at me why. Justin Herbert or Baker Mayfield, I'm taking Justin Herbert. Some of these I feel like I don't know how to explain. Dak or Baker Mayfield, I'm taking Dak. Bigger, stronger, faster athlete, more accurate with football. Is more of a field general than a game manager. Used to be able to take over with his legs. Now he's just wheeling and dealing out there. He has similar situation. He just is a better athlete than Baker Mayfield is. So I think if you're seeing the similarities of Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, you're seeing Dak has better weapons, but like Dak is dealing with better weapons. He's putting up like 400 passing yards a game. I don't think Baker has thrown over 300 yards more than twice this season. Granted, Odell just came back, and Jarvis Landry's been out, but I don't think Baker Mayfield's the type of quarterback to just consistently throw over 300 yards like Dak is. So I'm taking Dak. Tua, I'm taking Baker Mayfield over Tua. I just think the real deal breaker for me with Tua was he kind of was showing some positives coming into the season, but this offense is better or put up more points without Tua than it did with Tua. Jacoby Brissett just dropped 30 points. So I'm taking Tua. I'm taking Baker over Tua. I just don't think Tua has it. I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's going to get it. But those are all the quarterbacks that I would take over Baker Mayfield, and I think elevate the Browns past what they are currently. If you disagree, please comment as to why. Tweet at me at Pylon_the as to why. You can call me an idiot. I won't get offended. I just want to know why you would take Baker Mayfield, because I don't think you could ever convince me that you would. I just don't think Baker Mayfield does anything well besides he's pretty accurate. That's it. He's just an accurate game manager. I could list a billion accurate game managers. Kirk Cousins is an accurate game manager. Anyway, next we're going to talk about the most telling games of the week, but I keep forgetting to do this at the beginning of the video, so I'm going to do it now. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'm going to remind you at the end, but I just figured I'd remind you at the beginning, in this case the middle, because I was supposed to. Let's talk about the most telling games of the week. And if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the podcast, this segment is where I analyze two games that really tell more about the team and where they're going to go moving forward than the scores, than the box scores tell, and the final outcomes tells. But yeah, so let's talk about the first game I want to talk about. And this team was favored to win this game. Fox had them, Vegas had them favorited, and I think all of their fans had them favorited because this was a special day. They played a pretty crappy team, and they're in a season where there are expectations, right? And you look at the team last year. Everybody was kind of making excuses and picking out bright spots. But when you go into the offseason, you spend a ton of money, and you say that this is the year we're going to compete, fans listen. And I think that the most telling thing about this game is that you have proven you don't have confidence in your offense that you spent $1 billion in draft picks on. You don't have confidence in your quarterback. And you truly, on top of everything, do not know how to win games. And I think that it shows that you don't know how to be aggressive. And the game I'm talking about is the Atlanta Falcons playing the New York Giants. I think that this is the game where your season's over. Your season, going into this game, your season ends if you do not win, right? So, with that being the case, you're going in 0-2. Sure, you lost the week before to... Who did you play the week before? Washington. You won the game. You jump off sides. And then they kick the field goal again and you lose. So you lost that game on the last play of the game. And then you go into this game and you lose on the last play of the game. And there are multiple reasons that the Giants continue to be the laughingstock of the NFL. And I'm not going to talk too much about the Falcons because the Falcons realistically played a crappy game and deserved to lose. But the Giants played a crappier game and deserved to lose more. And we're going to start from the top with this team and work our way down. Let's talk about the excuses I mentioned. So, like I said, this is a team where you had excuses last year. The offensive line is bad. Daniel Jones turns the ball over. And the kid has no weapons. Saquon's out. You have no receivers, and he has no protection. So really, what is he doing out there? And he's in a new offense. So start with the first excuse of Daniel Jones is turning the ball over. Daniel Jones is the only quarterback in the NFL that is on an 0-3 team and has less than 18 turnovers. Both the other teams that are 0-3 have combined 18 turnovers. Daniel Jones has 1 fumble. He has no interceptions. He has not thrown an interception since November of last year that bounced off the hands of Evan Engram, so I can't really fault him for that. And before that, I don't know what his last interception was. So, one excuse. Daniel Jones is playing great. He grades out as the 8th best quarterback in the NFL right now. Playing flawless. And this is the other thing. If you winning is contingent on your quarterback playing flawless, you have to change your game plan. You have to change your offense because that is not feasible, it is not sustainable, and you can't be consistently flawless. Cannot happen. Second thing, the offensive line isn't playing as well. Okay, well, Andrew Thomas grades out as one of the best left tackles of last week. And he's played well all season. And despite the injuries, your offensive line is actually looking promising. It looks decent. All you needed it to be was league average, and that is what it is. The offensive line is no longer your excuse. And then you draft Kadarius Toney in the first round. You move Sterling Shepard to the slot, and you have Kenny Golladay, who you paid a ton of money to, and Saquon Barkley's back. Daniel Jones has weapons. Now, why are you 0-3? Because all 3 of your excuses do not exist anymore. They don't. Now, all that's left for you to do is go out, be aggressive, and win games. This is the difference between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, and why the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the division, and the Giants will finish 3rd or 4th. The New York Giants, and this is what we're going to talk about for the next 5 minutes or so. We're going to talk about their coaching staff. The New York Giants, in a game where they were losing in the 4th quarter, or were winning, and the game was tied in the 4th quarter, on 4th and 3, on the Atlanta 39-yard line with Graham Gano on your bench, elected to kick the ball. And I don't mean kick a field goal. They elected to punt. The Dallas Cowboys, up 13 points, on 4th and goal, went for it and scored a touchdown. That is why the Giants will forever be a mediocre franchise. You do not have faith in your franchise quarterback when he has given you no reason this season to not have faith in him. You don't believe in your offense. You don't think that you can't get 3 yards on the Atlanta Falcons. And you don't believe in your kicker, who you just paid a ton of money to, who previously held the record for longest field goal ever, to kick a 39-yard field goal, which realistically would have been about 49 yards, which he's made hundreds of times. Joe Judge and Jason Garrett are the worst play-calling head coach duo in the entire NFL, and it is not even close. Kenny Golladay was asked in an interview, why haven't you been used as a deep threat? And his answer was, I don't know. You paid $72 million for a receiver who's a deep threat contested catcher, and you have thrown him the ball 1 time in the red zone, and it was in garbage time. The New York Giants and Joe Judge are cowards. They do not care about winning games. They do not care about their season. And Joe Judge might be one of the worst head coaches in the NFL. Might be. You still got time to turn it around and prove everybody wrong. But let's look at the situation. You're 0-2. Your season is on the line. It is 4th and 3 on the opponent's 39. I want you to list in the comments 2 head coaches that would not go for that, would not attempt that 4th down. You have Saquon Barkley, who, though he has not been impressive, was averaging 3.2 yards on the day. So he could have got it. You just run the draw that you run every single play. Run the draw. You take your shot on 3rd down. Throw it to the end zone. Why are you going to do that if you aren't going to attempt to go for it on 4th down? Why don't you just get the 1st down on 3rd and 3 and then take your shot with a fresh pair of downs? Why are you calling timeouts on 3rd down and then letting the other team convert or score every single time? Why are you trying to win the field position battle instead of the actual game? Why haven't you thrown more than 4 passes to your first round pick in over 3 weeks? This franchise is sorry. It's pathetic. And I think you got the wrong head coach, man. And you definitely have the wrong offensive coordinator. It is so bad that Stephen A. Smith and Daniel Orlovsky and Marcus Spears have all admitted Daniel Jones is not the problem. So what is your excuse? Logically, if you are an owner who cares about this team, logically, if you're a head coach who wants to be the CEO of the team, are you watching this offense and thinking that it's not the problem? Because it's not the players. You give this offense to Sean McVay, you give this offense to John Harbaugh, you give this offense to Kyle Shanahan, to even Bruce Arians, who famous line is "risk it for the biscuit." You give it to Bill. You give this defense to Bill Belichick. Not that Patrick Graham's calling a bad defense. Sure, the defense is taking a step back, but they're still not playing better. They're constantly put in positions where they need to stop a team. They allow the opposing team to score on the last drive of the half, and then score again on the last play of the game. Constantly, it's happened for 2 consecutive weeks, and you got demolished by Denver. The New York Giants, and to all of their fans, I am sorry, but your franchise is trash. It is trash, and it will remain trash as long as Joe Judge. Well, I'm not out on Joe Judge yet. As long as Jason Garrett and John Mara are calling shots. Jason Garrett needs to stop calling plays. You could keep him if you want him to help the development of Daniel Jones, but you gotta let Freddie Kitchens start calling the plays. You could keep John Mara. You need to stop interfering with the team, because every time you interfere with the team, you screw it up. You make the worst possible decision you can. Why you went out and hired a head coach who literally had his play calling privileges revoked as your offensive coordinator is one of the most dumbest, idiotic, arrogant, conceited decisions that you thought you were smarter than everybody else. When there are so many more brilliant minds out there, and some of these minds aren't even brilliant, they're just better. Anthony Lynn, who didn't even care about being the head coach, would have ran a better offense than Jason Garrett. Kellen Moore runs a better offense than Jason Garrett. Mike McCarthy even would run a better offense than Jason Garrett. Zach Taylor runs a better offense than Jason Garrett. Everybody in the NFL, head coach or coordinator, runs a better offense than Jason Garrett. I am so much of a nerd that there is a certain atmosphere on Twitter where you have people who break down ridiculous stats. And one of the stats that I saw was success rates on routes for wide receivers. The Giants ranked 32nd in success rate per route ran for wide receivers. The Giants ranked 32nd in yards in potential for yards after catch for wide receivers. This offense is so bad, and the team's inability to change or be aggressive is why they will forever lose games and go under 500. In a game that's a must-win and like a sacred day for the fans, in that Eli Manning, the Jesus Christ of the New York Giants, his jersey's getting inducted to the Ring of Honor and being retired. They literally picked week 3 because it's like senior night, man, or homecoming. You pick the shittiest team so your team could go out and demolish them. You guys didn't even try to win against the Atlanta Falcons. You kneeled the ball with 7 seconds left in the second half, or the second quarter, instead of throwing the ball deep into the end zone and taking a shot. Worst case, they catch it, you get picked off. Worst case, you're short of the end zone. Worst case, it's dropped. Worst case, it's picked, and the odds of it being a pick six are so low that it doesn't matter. You kneel the ball out. You get booed off the field. Evan Engram is getting booed when he ran onto the field and cheered for when he ran off the field. Joe Judge is getting booed almost every single play. You were the worst timeout management team in the entire NFL, maybe next to Mike McCarthy, and you don't care. You do not care. And Dave Gettleman, who, has made some bad decisions, still assembled a defense that was ranked 9th in the NFL last season. And this offense, on paper, for certain should outscore the Atlanta Falcons. For certain should outscore most of the teams you go up against. Daniel Jones isn't even playing bad. You have no excuses besides looking at your play calling and your inability to adjust, and your inability to be creative, and your inability to play your first round pick is the reason your franchise will forever be sorry. You are not going to go anywhere this year in the NFL. It's in the NFC East. It's too late. You're 0-3. This was your week to turn it around. You would have been tied for second in the division, and the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles would have been on top at 2-1 and 1-2. You have the hardest schedule for the rest of the season. How do you expect to turn around now? There are not enough teams that you could upset to catch up. Now, you're done. It's sunk. You needed to beat Washington. You needed to beat Atlanta. Or one or the other, and you didn't even try. I'll say you tried against Washington. That was the most creative game the Giants have called all season, but you didn't even try against Atlanta. And there's no reason John Mara is getting booed off the field. There's no reason. He's kicking garbage cans over at the end of the game, but then he's going to point the finger at the wrong person. You're going into a year where it's Daniel Jones' 4th year. You got to start thinking about paying this kid. Please, for the sake of your franchise, do not make the same mistake in drafting a quarterback. Because the same mistake you would be making is putting that kid in a horrible situation. Pick up the option on Daniel Jones, see if he pans out, and build a team around him. Because if he doesn't pan out, you let him go or seek trade options. And the kid you draft next year in a better quarterback class isn't going to be in the worst position in the NFL. He's not going to be in the same position that Eli Manning was for the last 7 years of his career. And he's not going to be in the same position Daniel Jones was for the past 4 years when the time comes. Do not draft a quarterback. Build around Daniel Jones. Build around this offense and get a real coordinator. Get a real head coach. You could hire Kellen Moore, who could be your head coach. You could hire anybody else, Josh McDaniels, to be your head coach, and they will do a better job because at least you'll be competitive. You guys put up points with Pat Shurmur, who had way less talent. Daniel Jones was flawless in the end zone with way less talent in 2019. Now he's struggling in the red zone because you run the worst offense in the NFL. If you watch any Giants game, any series of theirs in the red zone, they don't even run routes to the back half of the end zone. It's all at the goal line. They ran one fade to Kenny Golladay in 3 weeks. One fade. On a contested route catcher. That's my takeaway from this game. The Giants are pathetic and they do not want to win games. That's what I've gathered. Next game. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I have had the Rams as one of my favorites to win the NFC East. Or the NFC East. Too fired up over that. Over the NFC since like July. And I thought it would be between them and the Buccaneers. Now, here's what I'll say. If you're a Buccaneers fan, you're listening to this, don't panic. Because let me remind you that you guys got obliterated by the Green Bay Packers last year and then beat them in the championship game. I think it's going to be the same story this year against the Rams. I don't know if you're going to beat them in the championship game, but you will see them again, whether it's in playoffs or it's in the championship game. The Buccaneers last year were a team that got hot the longer the season went, like as the season progressed. The Rams are on fire right now. They can only go down. I don't think they could play any better than they are right now. The Buccaneers defense has been more than disappointing, and they need to fix their running back position because they're struggling to run the ball. Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones are not the answer. The Rams, what this tells me for the Rams this game, is that Matthew Stafford is the guy that they have been missing. Jared Goff has been holding this team back for years. Not only has he been holding them back, he's forced his team to run a play-action style offense that attacks the middle part of the field, which is why Robert Woods ate last year. Now that you have Matthew Stafford who could drop back and send a nuke off the rip, off the three-step, we are seeing the full potential of the Rams. This Rams team could actually even be better if Cam Akers doesn't tear his Achilles. I never have believed in Bruce Arians as a head coach. I never have. I think that Tom Brady is so good, and he is now to the point of his career as an athlete, that we are now seeing the Michael Jordan effect. In that, Phil Jackson only had to be so good because he had the help of Michael Jordan. Now, I'm not saying he was a bad coach. That is not what I'm saying. But Bruce Arians is a bad coach. How many free agency acquisitions have the Bucs made since Tom Brady joined the team? Not many. And this is what I will say about Tom Brady and where he's at in his career. There is an expression that we've used on this show. Or not an expression, an analogy that I learned a while ago. And it's frequently used in businesses. You need to get the right people on the bus. That is the first step. The second step is you need to get the wrong people off the bus. The third step is you need to put the right people in the right seats. Tom Brady built this bus, put the right people on it, put the wrong people off it, and put the right people in the right seats in literally 1 year with no off-season OTAs or training camps. The Buccaneers will be fine, and they will get better. They are also missing one of their their top or second best corner on their team who broke his arm week 1 against the Cowboys. This team will get better. Let's talk about the Rams. Let's keep talking about the Bucs. There's more I want to say. Tom Brady, time and time again, is calling Bruce Arians off the field. He is telling him not to run the play he wants to run. And then, subsequently, the Buccaneers have scored on every time Tom Brady has done that. That tells me that Tom Brady is calling the shots. That tells me that Tom Brady is managing the playbook. It is Tom Brady's offense, and Bruce Arians is along for the ride. They also have one of the best defensive coordinators in the entire NFL, and because this team is so good, they will have time to adjust. They just need to make it to January. If they can figure it out by January, this will be a way closer game than it was as of this past weekend. Now the Rams need to stay hot. They need to do what the Cowboys did and keep finding ways to get better, continuously find ways to evolve, continuously find ways to change this offense. Because what we're seeing is teams do not have an answer for Cooper Kupp. Eventually, they will have an answer for Cooper Kupp. People didn't think Tyreek Hill could be containable, and he's been contained for the past 2 weeks. Eventually, like good teams, the Chiefs will find ways to open up Tyreek Hill. The Rams will find ways to open up Robert Woods. The Rams will find ways to keep Cooper Kupp hot. The Rams will find ways to use Sony Michel. The Rams will find ways to keep Darrell Henderson hot. The only fear I have for the Rams is they are very shallow. They are a very shallow team, particularly on the offensive line. And their offensive line is old, particularly at both tackle positions. So this game tells me a lot in that the Buccaneers are not ready to play the Rams. Their defense is not ready to compete with other playoff teams. Will it be ready? Yes. It was ready to beat the Cowboys, who they probably will play in the playoffs. The Buccaneers will be fine. The Rams. This game tells me that I was right about the Rams, and they are legit NFC contenders. They are the real deal. Sean McVay, we are now seeing that Sean McVay is the best schematic coach in the entire NFL, and that is why the Rams will score every first drive of the game. Every single time. Those are the two games we want to talk about. Now let's talk about my updated playoff picture. Speaking of playoffs, I really do enjoy doing that segment. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's nice that it comes out right after the power rankings because I could go more in depth on the teams that I move around in the power rankings and as to why. It's the reason why the Giants have dropped to 30th. They don't want to win games. They're not interested, and they find ways to lose every week. And the Buccaneers and the Rams deserve to be in the top 5 for 3 straight weeks, and now they're the 1 and 2, and they both deserve it. So I really do enjoy doing that segment. It gives me a chance to talk deeper in depth on those teams. One thing that I will be doing more often, and I said at the beginning of the year, but life happens, and my dog just broke his leg, so that's why these things are coming out later than usual. But I will be posting from now on the Thursday night thoughts about. Those videos will come out on Friday about the Thursday night games because it's going to give me a chance to talk more in depth about every team that plays on Thursday and what they do good and what they do wrong and where they need to improve. So I'm going to try to do that on Thursday for Thursday games and Monday games. It's just going to be a little tough because so much content needs to come out on Tuesdays that it's kind of hard for me to pump out another video on Tuesday, so I'm going to try to figure that out. But Friday will be good for me to put the Thursday night thoughts out. So I'll be doing that this week. But let's talk about the October playoff picture. So this is who I have as of right now, and there are a few teams that can move. I'm uncertain about. I have and this is going northeast, southwest. I have the Green Bay Packers winning the NFC North, the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the NFC South, and the Rams winning the NFC West. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I think the Green Bay Packers are the biggest lock to win the division because the rest of that division looks like crap. The Cowboys, additionally, look like the biggest lock to win their division because the rest of the division looks like crap. I still do believe that the Giants have the second best roster in that division. It really doesn't make sense, and it's not going to change until they get a new play caller. So that's why they're 0-3, because their offense stinks and it constantly puts their defense in positions to lose the game. The Buccaneers will win the NFC South. And the Rams, it'll be close. I think the Rams are the hottest team in football, and they have a pretty favorable schedule coming up, being that they are playing the NFC East this year. So I do have the Rams winning the division because they won their first tough matchup. They have another tough matchup this week against the Cardinals. If the Cardinals win, it's going to shake things up because they'll tie the record with the Rams. However, the Cardinals and the Rams are my favorites to win that division as of right now. Now, I have said time and time again I don't believe in Cliff Kingsbury, and I still don't believe in Cliff Kingsbury, but that roster just continues to impress me. If anybody that's not the Cardinals is going to overthrow the Rams, it'll be the 49ers. The 49ers' issue is that they need to outscore teams before the fourth quarter, or else they give the ball to Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo cracks because he knows Kyle Shanahan doesn't believe in him. So I have the Rams as the favorite to win the South, or the West, I mean. My 3 wildcard teams are the Cardinals, because they are currently 2-1. No, 3-0. They're 3-0. And then I have the Panthers, who are also 3-0, and then I have the San Francisco 49ers that are 2-1. If any of these are to change, I would take out the 49ers and probably put in, because this is where it gets tough. There's a bunch of 2-1 teams that I don't know are legit. Like, I don't know if the Saints are legit yet. And I think the Vikings are legit, but they're 1-2 because their offense is top 10 in almost every single category, and their defense has a great pass rush. The Panthers can come out, possibly, because they are now getting more and more injured. They're missing J.C. Horn, who actually was a crucial addition to their defense. He's been playing very well. He's one of the best graded rookies in the league so far for his position. And he's just one of the best rookies in the draft, or this year so far. Christian McCaffrey's out. And we're going to see, this team has had a pretty easy schedule so far. Now, if the Saints are legit, the Panthers are legit. If the Saints aren't legit, the Panthers need to prove themselves this weekend against the Cowboys. If they beat the Cowboys or keep it close, it'll be very impressive without Christian McCaffrey. So the Panthers will be more than legit. They might win their division. I know that's crazy, but they're going to keep it close, especially with the game ahead of the Bucs. I think the Cardinals can also drop out because I don't have any confidence in Cliff Kingsbury against good teams. They would have lost to the Minnesota Vikings if they've kicked a field goal. This game against the Rams this weekend is going to truly tell us how good or how bad of a coach Cliff Kingsbury is and how competitive this Cardinals roster is with just the talent it has. So this is my NFC picture as of right now. And I think that you can lock the Packers and the Cowboys. And I also think you could lock the Rams. No, I'm not going to say you lock the Rams because I really do think the Cardinals and the Panthers are going to compete. The 49ers are interesting because I think that they have the potential to lose games. And I mean games they should win because for whatever reason, Jimmy Garoppolo just cracks. He just crumbles every week. But let's talk about the AFC picture. And this is how it looks so far. I had the Baltimore Ravens, so we're going to go in order, north, east, southwest. I have the Ravens winning the north, the Bills winning the east, the Titans winning the south, and the Chargers winning the west. Here's why. The Ravens all these divisions are pretty competitive. Two of them are, just like the NFC. The Ravens are the most impressive team in the NFC North, the AFC North to me. Here's why. They lose to the Raiders. They should win that game. They took them to overtime. The Raiders played a great game. The Ravens should have won that game. But it was their first game missing their 2 starting running backs, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, and Marcus Peters is out with the ACL tear. Justice Hill is out with Achilles tear. And they're missing their first-round draft pick in Rashad Bateman. And Odafe Oweh has only gotten better since then. So the Ravens are a better team because they're getting a few people back that they crucially need and seeing development in crucial situations. Odafe Oweh is playing like one of the best rookies in the NFL on the defensive front. And Rashad Bateman, we have yet to see if he can fill the crucial need the Ravens have at the wide receiver position. And I do believe he will. I think Lamar is a good enough thrower of the football that he's going to help out a ton. Especially when you have Hollywood Brown, who's having a great season, and especially when you have Mark Andrews, who's always good. Let's talk about the East. I think the Bills' biggest competitors are the New England Patriots. However, I think that the Patriots will not be competitive until they get a deep threat. I have said time and time again on this channel and on this podcast that I think someone they should target for Mac Jones, because he will be good for a long time, is Stephon Gilmore. They should trade Stephon Gilmore for Michael Thomas. They should look to trade Stephon Gilmore for Michael Thomas because that's going to give Mac Jones, and if you follow this channel from the beginning, there are 3 pieces to the recipe that I think you need to have, or 3 ingredients that you need to see what you have in your franchise quarterback is offensive line, the right coach, and an elite alpha wide receiver 1. They have the coach, they have the line, they need an alpha wide receiver 1. Jacoby Myers ain't it. The other guys ain't it. Jonnu Smith ain't it. Hunter Henry ain't it. Michael Thomas would be it. If they trade for Michael Thomas, I think that the New England has a chance to finish second in the division and compete for a wild card spot. Maybe. It'll definitely make them way more competitive. Let's talk about the Titans. The AFC South is trash. Titans are the best team in the AFC South. I will say the Colts easily had the hardest 3 weeks of football. They played Seattle, they played the Rams, and then they played the Titans. Their schedule kind of slows down now, I think. I haven't checked in a while, but I'm pretty confident it slows down. I forget who they play this week, but I think it's a way easier matchup than anything they've seen so far this season. So, the Colts might bounce back, but it's really hard to bounce back from 0-3. And the Chargers. I think why the Chargers will win that division is they're better than the Broncos, they're better than the Raiders, and they're only 1 game behind. The Chiefs are 2 games behind. And their schedule is still pretty rough, right? Both of these teams, the Chiefs and the Chargers, are going to play the AFC. The whole division plays the NFC East. And that's the easiest division in football. Maybe the AFC South is easier. The Chargers, to me, have proven their defense can stop Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert can destroy that defense. I think the Chargers are the only team in the division that could do that to them. I don't think they'll sweep them, but I think they're going to give them a run for their money in both games, and I think they're that was the win they needed to keep rolling. That's going to keep them hot, beating the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 1-2, but they're still going to be a good enough team to beat out the Raiders and make the wild card. There's no universe where I see the Chiefs missing the playoffs. I don't see it, especially with this new playoff format, this new playoff picture where 7 teams make it. The next team, the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos are legit. Now, the argument that they haven't played anybody is certainly valid. The Giants win is now way less impressive. The Jets win was not impressive, and the Jaguars win was not impressive. What is impressive is how good their defense has been and continues to be. Patrick Surtain is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, not just a rookie. He literally is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And here's why. This is why this is my thought process of why Patrick Surtain is going to be such a good corner in the NFL is because let's look at his resume. Played in national championships, has played on Alabama, has started all 4 years. He's lined up against, in practice, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, more receivers that Alabama has produced that have been first-round draft picks. And he's played against Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, all of these other kids, CeeDee Lamb at Ohio State. all these other kids that have been first-round talents. And on a team like the Denver Broncos, he is going to be asked to cover the wide receiver 3. He's good enough to cover Justin Jefferson's a wide receiver 1. Jamar Chase is a wide receiver 1. Henry Ruggs is a wide receiver 1. Jalen Waddle is a wide receiver 1. Devontae Smith is a wide receiver 1. He's good enough to cover wide receiver 1s, and you're going to ask him to cover a wide receiver 3? There's no wonder they have the best secondary in the NFL. It's like not even close. And Von Miller is back, and he's a beast. And Teddy Bridgewater knows that he doesn't have to go out, play hero ball, because they have two of the most efficient running backs in the NFL with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. And Jerry Jeudy, thank God, only has a high ankle sprain and will be back in a week or so. Cortland Sutton's back, and he's nasty. And Tim Patrick's not that bad. And they're dominating the time of possession. They're first place in time of possession. Teddy Bridgewater just knows he has to go out, manage a game, and not make mistakes. And that is why this Broncos team will be competitive. Their defense is good enough to shut down offenses, and their offense is death by a million cuts. It just is a dink and dump every single pass, and that's why they're so efficient. Their running backs are great, and their quarterback knows what he's doing. Teddy Bridgewater literally looks like the best quarterback the Denver Broncos have seen since Peyton Manning. And they've had a lot of quarterbacks in between then. Drew Lock, we're really seeing how much Drew Lock has held this roster back. The Denver Broncos are legit, and they will make a wild card spot almost for certainly after starting 3-0. Because good teams decimate bad teams. 35-0 against the Jets. They were throwing all over them in the fourth quarter. Disrespect, I love it. They beat the Jaguars by a substantial margin and held... I think they had forced 3 turnovers or more on Trevor Lawrence. The Giants were close, and then they gashed them in the fourth quarter because they wouldn't give the ball to Daniel Jones in that offense, even though it's trash. They didn't even give him a chance. That is what good teams do. That is what good defenses do. And that is what good offenses do. Vic Fangio is a very good coach. He's completely off the hot seat, in my opinion. The last team to make the wild card spot is the Cleveland Browns. I think that the Cleveland Browns are too talented not to make it. They're 2-1. They're getting players back, and they just know what they're doing. They know their identity. I've said this for weeks now. If you follow this channel, if you follow this podcast, every team has an identity. The Baltimore Ravens run the ball better than anybody else. The Buffalo Bills have Josh Allen and can unleash him at any time. He has one of the strong, if not the strongest arm in the NFL. Not the best arm, the strongest arm. The Tennessee Titans will run all over you with Derrick Henry, and they have 2 great perimeter weapons in A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. The Chargers have one of the most, potentially the best quarterback in the NFL, the best emerging quarterback in the NFL. That's the best way to put it, because I don't think he's the best, but I think he could be top 5. Chiefs have Mahomes and that explosive offense. The Denver Broncos are death by a million cups. I think their real identity is just efficient. They're the most efficient team in the NFL. And the Browns will run all over you. I think that if any of these are to switch or to move, the Chiefs or the Broncos will win the division with whoever doesn't making the wild card besides the Raiders. I think the Raiders are frauds. And I think that the Browns haven't looked as good as everybody thought they were, so they definitely have limitations. So I think if the Browns are not going to make it, I think they have to make it. But if they're not going to make it, I just don't think there's anybody to replace them with. If you could think of somebody you would replace the Browns with, comment below or just tweet at me. Because I'm trying to think in my head. The East, maybe the Patriots if they catch their stride, but I don't see that happening. The Dolphins, maybe if they bounce back, I don't see that happening. Maybe the Raiders. I think if anybody's actually going to swap them out, it's just going to be the Raiders because they're 3-0 and they've dominated the early part of their schedule. That's been really, really tough. So good for the Raiders. I'm good for them. I like the Raiders. I just hate John Gruden because I don't think he's a good coach. So maybe the Raiders. Maybe the entire AFC West makes it. I don't know. They all have the highest record in the league, highest records in the league besides the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 1-2. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm stumped on if the Browns don't make it to the Raiders. That's a good question for the next episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Pylon Cam. We are back every Tuesday and Thursday for the podcast. We do fantasy football coverage every Tuesday. We do NFL coverage every Thursday. This week's been a little bit different because I flew back to New Jersey for to see my family and go to the Giants-Falcons game with my brothers. And then my dog broke his leg, so I've been dealing with that. So been very hectic week. A lot of things are coming out later than they're supposed to. Thank you for your patience. If there's anything you want to hear or see new on the podcast, tweet at me at @pylon_the. If you like what you heard, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps more than you know. And check us out on Instagram at @the_pylon_cam. We post content almost every day. This week has been the exception because it's been ref. But other than that, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next video. Peace!